Okay, we're going to start with Lab 5 Part 2, and we're going to continue on with that. We're going to include the squid settings that we did in prior Lab 5 Part 1. In Lab 5 Part 2, we're going to use SquidGuard in conjunction with Squid because adding individual sites one at a time can be a little daunting, especially if somebody's already done it for you. So we're going to introduce the concept of blacklists. Let's come over here. All right. So make sure we have an updated pfSense that our SquidGuard package is ready or already installed. Again, this can really help with your snapshots and your snapshot practices and production level practices. So as far as sandboxing, before you push it into production, can sort of test it here, make sure it works, then push it into production. So our lab 2 action, we're going to decide on an appropriate blacklist. Now pfSense has three blacklists already available. One has been pretty reliable, but for whatever reason in the past couple of months, it's been down, and I don't know if it'll ever come back. So I'm going to make the video in the assumption that it will come back, and we'll talk about all three blacklists, and we'll need to choose the appropriate one. We'll then configure SquidGuard to use that blacklist and edit and configure the targets and access control lists associated to SquidGuard and the blacklist that we downloaded. Excuse me. So in Lab 2, management at coolparts.com has found that in addition to the youtube.com, employee habits have found that employees are browsing to random sites too difficult to pin down. Pornography, illegal software, hacker tools, dating, drugs, weapons, wares, and others. Management teams wants to stop all employee browsing to those websites. Attempting to source each and every site would be too time-consuming and difficult. We need to find a way to import a long list. And this is what the blacklist is going to be used for. On top of this, these naughty employees are downloading software to local machines on the network. Management wants you to stop this behavior. We're going to use SquidGuard and import a blacklist. The pfSense user manual link is here. And we'll look at that here in a second, and you just basically Google it if you don't have it already, but I'll leave the link in the video description as well. Blacklists and the user manual link can be tricky because they're going to immediately jump and pull it in, which is great. We can examine the blacklist because it's just a tar gz file, so tarball. So we'll just basically look at it and do some research on it. We need to find a common access control list and targets, set the targets and deny it. We can also create new target and expressions to block the file extensions, exes, zips, msis. There are others out there that might be useful to block as well. So what are the other ones? Well, basically that's up for you, the administrator of coolsite.com, to figure out. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll close this out. Sure, save it, why not? All right, so this takes a little bit of time. According to the user manual, we have these three blacklists. They can take a little bit of time. They say 10 to 35 minutes. I went ahead and downloaded them prior to this. I'll show you the steps and how to do so, so that we can basically save time here. But first, we're going to take a look at the MESD blacklist, the Shala blacklists, the more. This is the one that I wish worked because it was really good in the past. It's been something I've used a lot. It goes to, let's pull this into main page here. It's going to fail. It's going to fail. It's squidguard.org/blacklists. And squidguard.org, for whatever reason, is sort of blocked or having problems. So these are the two that I was able to source, the shalalist.tar and the blacklists.tar. All right, WinRare will open it. You may find other utilities, 7-zip, WinZip, PKUnzip may also unzip it as well. But for the most part, what we're looking for is what's inside them themselves. So first we'll take a look at, this is the redirector blacklists off blacklist.tz. That's this file out of the two. All right. So the reason it's important to grab the right one is you could be doing double work. So here we have ads for aggressive audio, video, drugs, gambling, hacking, mail, porn, proxy, redirector, spyware, suspect, violence, and wares. Inside each of these, and all we did was open it, Open our blacklists. And for this one, I think it was redirector. This one's really easy to sort of read. So all we've got to do is view the file. And this is what we're looking at. These are all the websites that are blocked. So as we see, it's .com, .com, .eu, .cn, .mobi, .org, .com, .com, .eu, .de. And on and on and on our list goes. So some of these don't exist, like unblockpk.youtube. Doesn't exist. So it's an old website. It's either gone unattended or just isn't used anymore. But it's just been added to it, like the Zune, the Microsoft Zune. It's obviously a dead media player. It's also a dead proxy as well. But earlier I had asked you guys, how do you get around proxies? And the answer is to use a proxy or a VPN. So here we go. I think I might have accidentally done this wrong way. If you open it up in a text pad or notepad, this one was a little big, so it's going to be ugly. 2 megs. This is what it looks like, where we have DNS entries, IP, and addresses. All right, so if you do view file, it'll make it nice and easy, one-line reads. It just depends on your text editor of choice. All right, slow down. But if it's 2 megs as a text file, it's going to be really long. All right, that's WinZip. It's a free to use. Even after the license expires, it just basically bothers you to buy a license. Buy a license. So if we look at our shallow list, we look at our blacklist, we have a lot more, what do you call it? We have a lot more groups here, all right? But when we look at our listing here, if you look in English, Dutch, French, Russian, right? So if we look at alcohol, this is a list of breweries, wineries, distillers. Can also cover how to make beer, wine, spirits. Maybe not so terrible, right? Here's some anonymous VPN site services, automobiles, cars related to that. The problem with these, if we look at, let's look at the automobile. We look at bikes, we look at domains. Okay, that is a size. And we'll view this file. ABC, HarleyDavidson.com. 2 Vulcans, American Harley Davidson. Okay, so this is what I was worried is most of these will be au.uk. They're kind of like all over the place, right? If you block Amazon.com, there's nothing stopping you from going to Amazon.ca for Canada, right? And then you can still order things from Canada's Amazon. It will still charge your credit card. You can still do shopping online. Amazon Canada and in America is pretty similar. There's not a lot of product differences. For the most part, what's allowed to be sold in Canada can be sold in the United States. But if you end up going to something like India, then there's Amazon.in. There's a disconnect there when it comes to shipping product from that website to the US. You have to go through customs and everything like that. It can be a little bit of a hassle. So it depends on what your listing wants to be. So there's a lot of DEs here, a lot of Denmark, a lot of German or Dutch sites. So which one do you want to use? It's kind of on the fence there. So there can be what we would call like an extreme list. And then there can be simple things like these all the internet.com, anywho. I mean, there's all of Bing getting killed right there. Let's see if Google gets knocked out. Google gets knocked out. A lot of Google, right? Which could be handy. And you can always whitelist it. If you decide to go full on nuclear and block a lot of this, and you have users on the network saying, well, we really need to access Google to find products or find vendors, then you can unblock that. You can whitelist the google.com. So that's shallow list. We looked at blacklists. Here's an example of Google's sites.google.com/site/unblock any website. That's going to be our main test one that we're going to go for because it does exist. That's from prior when we did our connection to, I think it was HCCs, right? So the first thing we're going to have to do is use SquidGuard. So make sure SquidGuard is active. We're going to load this in a new window real quick because I'm going to show you the steps and I want that one page to be visible. So services, SquidGuard, proxy filter. And now it's not enabled. So the first thing we're going to have to do is enable our blacklist. So check the blacklist, insert our URL. There it is right there. This is the user manual for SquidGuard. So the most part, we're going to be looking at this and following this. There's our three lists again. So we'll take it and we will right click, copy link address. If you click on it, it's going to download it. And we really don't want it to download because I don't need it to download at this moment. I already have it on the desktop to examine the two. The squidguard.org site, just for whatever reason, they're having difficulties. I think it's hosted on GoDaddy, so maybe they didn't pay their bill or something. I don't know. If it comes back, there's another one for you to examine on our squidguard.org blacklists. Now, SquidGuard is still actively used. It's very, I would say it's highly used in industry. It's a free open source, so anybody can use it and implement it in a variety of ways. So once we're going to do that, we're going to go to General Settings, through Services, Proxy Filter, and check the blacklist box. Input it in the blacklist URL field, and if it's in behind a proxy, use the blacklist proxy, which we don't have, and again, not necessary for most people. Save, navigate the blacklist tab and down. I'll show you how to do that right now. So here we are. We're going to check the blacklist box. We're going to input our that was that one. So we're going to come back here, take this, copy link address. Once we do that, we'll hit save. Wait for the page to reload. I didn't click it. I'm just saying this is what you're going to do. You're going to check the blacklist to enable it. Click the blacklist URL. Notice it has not been started yet. It's still stopped. Go to the blacklist tab. Okay, good. I was worried this would disappear. This is what I kept here, our log. And you'll click the download button, which will download it from this link. It can work if you input your own link here. See, I can pull this out and put in the link. And then you can click download. It can work, but if it doesn't, the original instruction settings say go to general settings, put in the download link, then hit the download. After that, you'll notice that now the log should start the update, start the download the archive. Once it's complete, it'll unpack the archive, scan for categories. It's got 14 categories in the blacklists.tz. That's this right here. So that's 14. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Okay, so that's its categories. It'll rebuild the database and copy the database to the working directory. Then it'll reconfigure Squid proxy, and then the blacklist update's complete. If you don't see that, something happened, follow and figure out where that happened. So now let's take a look at our target categories. Here we are. So blacklist ads, and let me pull up our listing here because I feel like it's important to get this part. All right, So ads, aggressive, audio, video, drugs, gambling, hacking, mail, porn, proxy, redirector, spyware, suspect, violence, wares, and default access all. So by default access all being denied, what'll end up happening no, it was this. No, 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 no. All right. Default access is giving the all this the deny segment. When we turn this on, it's possible that what'll happen is we'll lock out all internet access websites. So we'll need to make sure we turn that back on if that does happen. So we'll start the service. Now it's started. Let's see if we can get back to our website here. So yeah, we got blocked. pfSense proxy forbidden, coolsite.com. If we come over and we clear our cache and cookies again, I don't want to lose this URL because we're going to come back and we're going to actually test for that. So let's do cache, all time, clear data. So SquidGuard org failed, Everything is blocked basically because of this. And I don't know why they do this. Let's put this back in admin pfSense. Proxy server. I think I did. Wrong one, sorry. SquidGuard proxy filter. Our groups, common, and then look at our target rules. The default access, if we allow that, now we'll get our web access returned to us. All right, sometimes it's necessary to start and stop or hit apply after you make changes. And we'll see if that fixes us here. So now we can go to coolsite.com, which apparently has been replaced by World War II veterans. Google's back now as well. Whoops. MSN.com, as is our cache. It's still placed. It still looks pretty fast as far as caching goes. But for the most part, as this goes along, well, that's cool. You know, I'm happy that our cool sites sort of took it to World War II veterans. That's nice. Much better than going to something else in the future. So maybe we're World War II veteran workers now, which is good. All right. Unique that they bought that domain name and pointed it to that, but whatever. All right, so here's our access and how to run those. So unblock any website was a redirect. If we go to our common groups, our target common groups, and it was set at redirector. If we now set it to deny, hit save. Push apply again. Take a look at our target rules. Deny. We can add our own target category as well. But for the most part, we're going to continue to work with this here. All right, looks like we need to clear cache and cookies again. All right, so we'll kill off this and we'll try it again. All right. Our target rules here, deny. Waiting for us to finish here. There we go. It's probably due to the wrong set. See how it's filled out like that because I didn't view blacklists, proxy, view file. Most of these things are pretty old, like launch MySpace. I don't think that exists anymore. I think I accidentally did the wrong thing here, but let's look at proxysite.eu or maybe proxify.eu. And I'm going to hope that this isn't a bad site, which should be blocked anyways. There we go. So even if it was, because I was worried that there would be some sort of bad images on the proxy site itself, it doesn't matter that it was set, and there's our target group, the blacklist redirector. Client group is default because everybody's on our client group. Here's my address for me. 10005. So I have a way to, as an administrator, track the user that went to that wrong website. So how do you, an administrator, act in or put in a blacklist site? That's what this whole point of this part 2 is. All right. Additionally, if you looked over at our, I guess I got to sign in again. The way we got around proxies in the past, and I said, hey, make sure you pay attention to these proxy settings, and I went to the wrong one again. Not reverse proxy. We're looking for proxy filter. We can check in our GUI logs, access list logs. We can rotate our logs out. And additionally, we need to be careful because as the log builds, there's a possibility for us to overload our storage on our server or pfSense server. We look at our common access lists, we are looking for do not allow IP addresses in URLs. So remember when we went cmd and then pinged hccs.edu. While it is a good website for us, legitimate website here, we're stuck in a problem where HCCC's website is, I think it's still in our blacklist. All right, that's fine. So we'll continue leaving that in there. We'll do Yahoo. I like to pick on them. We'll take Yahoo's IP address, stick it in there, and then we've got Yahoo. So HTTP Yahoo, as a matter of fact, which is kind of unique. All right, so if we come over to here and we say we're going to stop the IP addresses and URLs, save it, general settings, apply, and at the same time I've got to come back over, clear out those cache and cookies again. And this is really good, as far as getting you exposure to doing this a lot, because this is a common theme for a lot of IT administrators. Now we can't put it in there. The group says in address, target group in address, and you're going to have to recognize that that URL is not allowed. So even if we HTTPS it, Still giving us an error. And this is all because of our secure site, the way it's handed down. We're sort of protecting ourselves from illegitimate certificates because of the way it was passed down. Let's go back to our settings here. You can add custom messages, but right now, that's what we got. Request denied by pfSense forbidden. Request denied by product name, proxy. And we can change our error pages. Once we're using transparent proxies, the INT redirect modes, they're not available. So you'd have to use external URLs. If we wanted to add additional information, if we wanted to add safe search, it's supported by Google, Yandex, Yahoo, MSN, Live Search, Bing. These search engines allow us to safe search and enable to restrict or limit mature content. So that's a good idea to do as well. And we can log for this one as well. So we'll save that and save that. Come back over, hit save. And now we've sort of added another layer to our search engines because we're allowing our users right now to use Google's website. It's just now we're using it with safe search. So you can add more blacklists. I have only done one at a time because I think it gets a little messy otherwise, because you can see right now we got 14. If we remember, the Shala blacklist had an extensive listing for it, and it is, we pull this up, this many, however many that is, 55 folders. So 55 lists, which could be handy, but again, will take a while. So we only went with a short one to make it sort of quick and easy. If we decide to really go nuclear and start denying everything, there we go. All right. If we deny ads, aggressive video, all the way down to where's, right, it could go too high. We could have set the bar too high. And being aware of our target groups in our rules list will help us sort of filter it down. And if somebody says, okay, for work purposes, I need to, let's say, let's see if, so broken there. Whoops. Broken there. That one works. Got a lot of page that's missing here, so it's sort of helping out a little bit, but kind of weird how this page even looks. So also looks like it wants you to buy this service too, so whatever. If you end up being in a listing, just pay attention to the group or target group, and then you can come over and sort of add a whitelist to it. If we accidentally added the wrong thing to it, we could come over to our add groups. We can say whitelist. And we can set it at the top. And we can add to our specific sites that we need to add. So when we add a group, let's call this whitelist group. And we want to make sure that we make sure everybody can access hccs.edu, google.com, yahoo.com. We're still not going to allow that in there. Then we will leave redirect alone. Still continuing safe search. Set in logging. Hit save. Can't have a space in there. So we will underscore and then group it. Save it. Now we have our whitelist group. Oh, no, wait, we need a target group, not a group. Sorry, that was the wrong one. We need a new target category. So I'll come over to our target category and we'll say whitelist. Group still has to be single with no spaces. It's A through Z underscore 0 through 9, not space. The order, domain list, hccs.edu, google.com. Oh, wait, that's domain listing. We're going to get rid of that, put in our URL. Regular expressions, if we wanted to say block out certain things. Just for fun, I guess. We can add in say here, and then this would be on our whitelisting because we'll see it come up here in just a second. We don't need to worry about set there. That's not a URL. All right, so it has to do with the formatting of it. So here's our target category. If we come over to our target categories, where's our whitelist? If we set it to allow, save it. I think that we might have a problem with Squid proxy because it had our ACL set to block HTC. Let's give it a test real quick and see if one will override the other if I have it at the top. So Squid still saying access denied. So if we go back to our spot here, take it out of our blacklist, save it. But we could see the two errors that we have, right? This one is pfSense proxy forbidden. And if we look up at the very top tab, it says SquidGuard error page. And then this one says error could not be received. So this is Squid. And this is SquidGuard. So it's important to note the two there so you can find it. If you see this, someone sends you, hey, I got this funny looking squid guy, you should know that that's Squid. If you have no image at all, it's straight HTML, very plain, very empty, nothing really found. I believe we stripped out our Squid version. Yep. It's important to note the two different pieces we have here. And if you're unsure if that was Squid, you can see Squid Software, not SquidGuard. The two companies may be connected, but for all intents and purposes, to identify it, that's what we're really concerned with. All right, so that's for access control lists and redirect modes, safe engine search. For adding domains to that, we can look at the GUI services, proxy filter, target categories, everything we already did, and then we can add that whitelist. I called it whitelist underscore group. To block it by extensions, you'll still go to proxy filter, the target categories, and in the name for the category, the my block example, that's an example here, and add the extensions. And here's our extension lists. If we want to just take this entire list, go to our SquidGuard, target categories, and add a new target category. We'll call this blocked extensions. And I think it was regular expressions. So we'll put it in here, and I'm going to just double check. Yeah, added in some spacing that I didn't want. Give it a pipe. It's separated by pipe. So ASF, WM, WMA, WMV, zip, rare, cab, MP3, AVI, MPEG, SWF, that's flash, EX executable, MPEG, MP, MPV, MP3, WM, VPU. To be honest with you, I don't know what that one is, but here's our set and our fragmentation. Let's see if it'll accept that. Also turn on logging. We'll hit save. So I guess we've got some spacing in here somewhere. That's what I was worried about. Let's see what we got. Maybe it came in. What's the invalid character? Oh, I got that again. Okay, maybe that's all it was, is just the name. So we'll save it now. I guess I have too many. We'll just say block extension. There, so now we've got our blocked extensions. We'll come back over to our common group, find our set, and then we will also deny all those extensions as well. So once we hit save, next lab we'll be looking at it's Windows Baseline Security Analyzer. So Windows Baseline Security Analyzer is going to give us an MSI, and we are selecting English, so we're going to hit download. We want the English download. Next. And it let us download the MSI, which, to be honest with you, I don't remember if the target categories included MSI. They did not. So notice how that did not kill us. If we add in another pipe MSI, let's see if we can block it, effectively block it now. We'll come back over, we'll apply our changes. And for the most part, cached downloads or cache file downloads should not be blocked. So there's our setup for it there. We're going to try it in a little bit after it finishes loading and try to download our MSI again, which it still let us do it. And it was cached at our server. So it may be a cache that's set. So let's try something. I mean, you can always try this on your own here, but I'm trying to think of an exe file off the top of my head. Let's try nmap. Because we haven't been to that. I haven't been to that. So we'll try our download. And there's our stable. And it let us take the exe. Wasn't the exe blocked? .exes were blocked. So we'll check into this again in the future, but let's take a look at our sets here. So save it, common or groups, click the target rule, expand it, list, click save and apply. All right, so for the most part, that should have done it, unless these stars are flipping things out. We can look into this in the future. For the most part, I kind of did a cheat where I just grabbed all these extensions that I felt were not so good. If we come back and look at pfSense and look at it, it says, doesn't really list a parenthesis, so maybe we'll just get rid of parentheses. Let's see if it'll accept that. Apply it, refresh it, sort of kick it around a bit. Still downloaded it. So we'll do some more research into that. But for the most part, this can help. And it may be that I might have some sort of target category mismatch or problem. So it can be done through different times of the days, and you can set this to be a date range type range, any particular day, dates. You can turn it on and off. You can offer, there's our blacklist download set again, and here's our log for all the problems that ever happened. And how SquidGuard readies our requests. The proxy configuration file. And the filter for that as well. Now the filter only shows you for SquidGuard to see Squid and SquidGuard together. Remember we would have to add that setting. There's that in map that we used. And our bandwidth throttling as well. So it downloaded really fast. Most of the files that we're going to be dealing with in this class aren't that large, but if we went and downloaded a large file, it would suck up a lot of bandwidth on our website. So we could actually sort of throttle that bandwidth around a little bit, especially when it comes to binary CD ISOs, multimedia files, other extensions like .exes. Oh, and our clam AV for disabling it on malicious or what they might find to be malicious files. And you can update the database. They say to do it every hour, but it should take a little bit of time once it starts. And you can set the region to United States. So that's all we have for the finalized setting here. At this point in time, we've got our ban list in place, one of the three that we're choosing here. I'm assuming that the SquidGuard.org will come back one day, because it's still, if you were to Google it, it's still sort of around. So that's really pulling out all our blacklists and pushing everything in place pretty extensively. And we can see that after everything's in use, we're only using 13% of our memory. Disk use, we're moving up a little bit at 15%, and hopefully we'll see that stuff sort of dial back down. But we've got Squid and SquidGuard active now. We've got our two interfaces again. As our, if it was a large organization. If it was 5 people, maybe 7 days is just fine. But if it's 5,000 people, 7 days at 10 gigs probably isn't enough space, because we set it for a gig, and we may see that users will start complaining that the network's slow or the network size speed is slow. And we can help us out with the limited amount of bandwidth that we may have purchased for our building by using caching, especially when it comes to that Windows Update dynamic cache. All right, so we'll continue on from here in our next video.